Life Audio.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Story Behind Podcast. This is the show for people who love hearing a good story and who believe the world could use more positivity. We're the team behind GodUpdates and GodTube, and we hope these weekly short stories will brighten your day.
Eight-year-old hears dad gasping in the middle of the night and jumps into action. Written by Mel Johnson. Read by Alyssa Forsberg. An 8-year-old saved her dad when she got up for a glass of water in the middle of the night and realized something wasn't right. It was 3 a.m. when Rochelle Ramsey, who lives in Scotland, woke up and decided to get a glass of water. On her way to the kitchen, the little girl passed by the bedroom where her parents slept, and as she did, she heard a strange noise coming from the room. She could have brushed it off, but Rochelle knew something wasn't right. And because she trusted her instincts, the 8-year-old girl saved her dad. It turns out the noise Rochelle Ramsey heard coming from her parents' room was her dad, Chris Ramsey, gasping for air. The young girl woke up her mom, Cheryl, and alerted her to the danger. Rochelle ran into the room and realized Chris's teeth were chattering, but his temperature was through the roof, Cheryl recalled. Cheryl immediately called for help and emergency responders rushed Chris to the hospital. "I've never seen anyone shaking so much and his teeth were chattering," Cheryl said. "It was a horrendous experience. He was deteriorating before my eyes." Chris suffers from MS, multiple sclerosis, and had a weakened immune system. He recently battled a chest infection, but doctors had sent him home. Chris seemed to be recovering well. At least that's what everyone thought until the night the 8-year-old saved her dad. "If it wasn't for your wee girl, he would have died," a paramedic told Cheryl. After paramedics admitted Chris Ramsey into the hospital, doctors began treating him for pneumonia, which had gone into sepsis. The gasp Rochelle Ramsey heard in the middle of the night were her dad going into septic shock. "I'll never forget that night for the rest of my life," Cheryl said. "If Rochelle hadn't stepped in, I would have woken up and found Chris dead in the bed." After 3 days in the hospital, doctors managed to get the sepsis under control. They sent Chris home, armed with some strong antibiotics and a good prognosis. But had 8-year-old Rochelle Ramsey not woken up and saved her dad, things would have turned out very differently. Some may consider Rochelle's 3 a.m. wake-up coincidence, but it certainly seems like divine intervention to me. And since her dad's return home, the sweet 8-year-old has spent lots of time cuddling with him. Not many 8-year-olds can say they saved a parent's life. She's his guardian angel, Cheryl Ramsey explained. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." Proverbs 3, 5-6. Nearly brain-dead dad Scott Marr says his miraculous recovery is proof God is real. Written by Mel Johnson. Read by Alyssa Forsberg. Nebraska man T. Scott Marr knows God is real. Doctors had no hope for the nearly brain-dead dad. In fact, he was supposed to die after they pulled the plug. Only he didn't. Now called the Miracle Man, Scott made an unbelievable recovery instead. The day after T. Scott Marr's 61st birthday, Scott's son discovered him unresponsive in bed at his Nebraska home, though still breathing. An ambulance rushed Scott to the hospital, where doctors placed him on life support in intensive care. Tests showed signs of severe stroke. The next day, Scott wasn't getting any better, and doctors said he suffered from major brain swelling. "We thought that this wasn't a recoverable process," Dr. Rebecca Runge of Methodist Hospital said. Doctors told Scott Marr's children there was nothing more they could do for their nearly brain-dead dad. He had always said, "I never want you guys to see me lying in a hospital bed, lying in a nursing home," Scott's daughter, Preston Marr, explained. So, when doctors decided to pull the plug, everyone thought it was the end. They told us he was on his way to brain dead, so we said our goodbyes before extubating him. All the monitors were shut off and we waited by his side, Preston recalled. God is the one who has the final say. And he still had plans for Scott. Scott's children, Preston, Lauren, Ryan, and Drew, sat around his hospital bed after doctors turned off life support. They cried, held Scott's hand, and said goodbye. They even set up an appointment to start planning his funeral. We thought we would never hear his voice again, see him open his eyes, and see who we were, Preston said. But the following day, Scott was still alive. The hospital called and asked Scott's kids to come back. Preston was the first to arrive and got to witness something miraculous. I went in just to talk to him like we have been this whole time, and I said, "Hi, Dad," and he smiled at me, and I literally thought I was dreaming. It was the craziest moment ever, Preston Marr recalled. Preston asked her dad to move his thumbs, which he did. Then she told him to wiggle his toes. Scott did that too. I literally had to rub my eyes to make sure it was actually happening, Preston explained. Doctors couldn't believe it either. They started doing more tests and found Scott hadn't suffered a stroke after all. Instead, he had a rare condition called posterior reversible encephalopathy syndrome. It's commonly caused by high blood pressure, but there are many things that can cause it, Dr. Runge said. Scott Marr doesn't remember losing consciousness. He just remembers waking up in the hospital surrounded by family. And Scott, now affectionately called the Miracle Man, knows he has his Heavenly Father to thank. "This whole thing has been a miracle from God," Scott said. "I did not die. I didn't have to die. I'm back here, and I hope to give people some comfort and hope that if they are, in fact, going through anything like that it's a safe place." In the 2 days he spent unconscious, Scott may not remember his time at the hospital, but he does recall a vision he had during his near-death experience. While out, Scott remembers seeing his father, who died 2 years ago. Scott spotted his late dad walking down the street. He said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm looking to work." And he said, "There's no work here. You better get your butt home," Scott Marr recalled. Looking back on the dream now, Scott feels confident it means his time here on Earth isn't done. He's blessed with more time to spend with his kids and grandkids. Scott still has work to do in his recovery, but is back home and getting stronger. And the experience has given Scott a whole new perspective on his faith. "I'm not an extremely religious person. I don't go to church every Sunday," Scott said, "but I do believe in God. I believe with all my heart. Now this is just proof for me that everything I've ever heard is true, that He loves me, that He's right there for me. It was pretty much a miracle." Scott Marr's testimony is truly incredible, and God clearly has a bigger purpose for this man's life.
Thank you so much for listening to Story Behind Podcast. We're really glad you joined us for this week's story. To see photos and videos that may have been referenced in this episode, check out the links in the show notes. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe to our podcast, and please tell a friend about us. We'd also love it if you'd rate us and leave us a review. It really does help more people find us. Story Behind is a Salem Web Network production.
What do you do when your world is falling apart? How do you march when it would be easier to stay where you are and die? Join me every week on the March or Die podcast, and we'll discuss that and so much more.